Hello students, welcome back. So we are going to do part 2 of our Access report review, if you will. In this instance, we're still in our doctor's diagnosis report. Well, last time we left off, we talked about how our fields, we have some issues in the report, mainly that some of the fields are scrunched together. We can't see the field names, and that we need to be able to see those things in order to provide a good report. So we need to make sure that that basically all data can be viewed, and that all headers, data headers, can be viewed as well. The field names can be viewed as well. So what we're going to do, what I like to do, I don't really like to necessarily go to layout view, but you can go to layout view and work in layout view if you feel better than you do in a design view. So in layout view, it may be easier because I can see my different people. I can see their names. I can say, oh, well, let me try to best fit these columns. So if I double click on the columns I can best fit, and sometimes this can work and sometimes it won't. Something for like this though, see how we have extra information down there. So maybe what we want to do with these columns instead is to extend them out, so that way we have more room. And now instead we can go like this and double click. Oh, come on now. You can find out where your, there we go. So now we've made a little bit more room. Hopefully we can still see all of our diagnosis, and I don't think we have anything that we can't see there. The other issue we have, right, is, well, there's the initial visit date, and you see these number signs. Well, that's just telling you that you cannot see, it's not able to fit all that information in that particular place. So let's do date of initial visit. We'll extend this out a little bit this way, a little bit. There's a lot of information that is just we are needing to fix. So we can fix it in here by, if I can grab it, move it over some, fix those controls in there. The names, we may even spread these out so that way the, oops, Control Z, we may even spread these out so that way we can shrink down the names and make sure they're looking like that. So Alexander Carson, and then we can move everything. And so we see this name, but does the title name up here in the report accurately reflect that? No, because this is actually the doctor's name. So doctor's name, and we can rename that field, and we can double click on it to shrink it down. And this isn't so whose first name is this? Well, this is the patient's first name, right? So patient first name, and then same thing over here. Let's change this record to say patient's last name. Oops. So patient's last name. We have a lot of space left right here. Now we're going to have to be careful because we don't want to encroach on the space, and this is why I don't necessarily like to do these in layout view, because I can't see the space in between each column here, or each field. So if I go to design view, I actually get a better picture of of what I'm doing here, and I can shrink this down, and I can shrink this down if I need to. Move this over. There we go. Move this over. And now I'm creating more room, allowing myself space to fit everything on one page. So date of initial visit. Let's see here. So diagnosis. We're gonna try to put that down. There we go. Okay, so we're going to try to put those down, so that way we can get these columns in here, and it may be a little bit too close together right there. Well, let's move it. There we go. And we can, so once again, we can rename stuff. So instead of date of initial visit, we can say let's see. Oops. We can just say something like first visit. Or first visit. And we can know that that is the time that they first visited the doctor about said issue. And we're going to want to make sure that everything is looking good on the up and up. Date diagnosed. We want to make sure that we're doing that, and then comments. If there's comments, we want to have some space for the comments to show. There we go. Okay. Now, the issue is we have so much, right? So much information that maybe we need to determine whether or not this is actually worth it to have this much. Okay, because one thing we definitely want to do is we want to make sure that we can see all of our work. So when we go back over here, the good thing about this is that there's no comments. There are no comments, but here we have something. See how we still have the dates. Some of them are not showing up correctly, so we need to go back to our we need to go back over here, and we need to fix our visits. Okay, so we need to fix our visit. Try to put our headers somewhat in the middle if we can, so that way we can ensure that things are being said. So shown. So first visit. Guess that's fine. So we go back out. Do we still have? It looks like all the dates are good. That we have the ability to see all of our headers. We have 2018, so we can see 2017 for Carson Alexander, 2018, 2019, and then go down to Rachel, and this is Rachel Larson, and this is Rachel Larson's Dr. ID, and this is her records for 2017. So the information is sorted in just a way that we can see all of the people that the doctors saw in a given period, when they first visited about a specific diagnosis, and then when they were actually diagnosed with that. And we can look at the print preview, and we can see that it's printing. We have the date down here in the bottom corner, the page number, and so that's in the footer section. So if you want to change how something looks, such as date and time, so down here in the footer section, you can click and you can add page numbers, date and time, titles, logos. So these are things that can go in here. If I want a logo, maybe I put it at the top. Click this button, insert a logo in there. If I want to change the way that the page numbers are submitted, I don't want to show page N of M. Instead, I just want to show page 1, 2, 3. So depending, you can always do that. You can say where they're aligned, supposed to be aligned. So you have these features, and you can insert charts if you so wish, depending on if you think that would fit in the report. You can add totals. You can count records. So if I click on this, and it would insert a record total into the page footer. Okay, the report footer down here at the bottom, you see it says count. So now if I go back to over here, and I go to the very bottom of my report, I can see that I have 494 total records. Okay, so that's a count of the total number of records. I can see that I have the page 1 of. So let's go back and view. There we go. So now I can show I have 33 pages, and at the end of the pages I can see that I have the 494 records. Alright. So if I don't like the way my report is showing, I can always, once again, I can create the report initially in a report wizard, and then I can do modifications in the design view. However, if I want to create the report a different way, maybe instead of having it as in a tubular form as it is here, if I wanted to create it in a stacked form, instead, maybe I just start with the design view and go ahead and start dragging out my my fields and things into this area. So sometimes it just depends on how you want to utilize a report. If you're doing the report in design view, okay, one thing you have to know is that you can group and sort in this with this button right here. So if I press that button, it'll tell you to add a group, and I can decide which group where I would like to add the group. If I would like to add it to the doctor ID or the patient, but I just click one. Let's just say I want to see where diagnosis is. So what's going to happen is it's going to group everything based on diagnosis first. Okay, so your diagnosis will come first. In fact, it may be even smart to, if you can, to move diagnosis into this header area up here. Okay, so if you can, to move diagnosis into the header area. Maybe I do it by diagnosis, and then I add a sort on patient ID. So now it's going to be sorted by patient ID, And I have more opportunities to do things on here. If I wish to create totals, if I have that option, I can click a totals button up here. Let's see if I can, there we go. So I can click the the totals button up here, and it will give me the ability to do one of these things. You can say sum, average, count, max, min, just based on whatever needs we have. I can change my themes or colors of my report. I can do the colors differently for the reports or the database as a whole. Actually, this does the database as a whole. Change the fonts over here. However I need to do it. Once again, if you remember, we can change the design. Instead of it being stacked, now it can be tubular. And there we go. Now we have the ability to move things down, move it down. If I want diagnosis to be at the top, change it to tabular. I don't know why I keep on saying tubular. Tabular. So tabular. All right. So there you go. That will help you, and we put diagnosis up there. So anyway, that should help you and give you some information as to how to allow yourself or give yourself the ability to create the reports. If you would like to have, margins between your controls, you can select that, and so what that will do is it will widen how much space basically is in between right, so this is the box, and now we have space in between the top of the box and the bottom. So if we don't want that space, if we don't want it, then we need to remove it. Go ahead and remove, so go ahead and change it back to none, and we can close that up. So this allows you to widen the boxes or make them a little bit more narrow if you wish. So control padding. Let's go back to this and do the so control padding. Well, do we want medium, wide, a wide padding, a narrow padding, or a medium padding, narrow? So it just gives you basically from the top of the report, it changes it so that way you're not sitting right here at the very top, and right, so you're not sitting at the very top. There's a little space between like the header right here and the header right there, section right there. So now you have a little bit more space to work with, sitting a little bit further down. So these are the things that you can do to help at the end. You want to make sure to preview your reports, see if they're complete, they're accurate, or incomplete, and they look decent. This report looks horrible, right? You can also create new. So if I want to, I can create a new text box, and that some reason my database closed while I would pause the video to have a conversation. So for some reason it closed, and I was going to show y'all how to do a calculated field inside of a report. So basically what you need to do calculated fields, and I'm just going to redo all this to show you. So whenever you do a calculated field, to add calculated fields to a report, one thing we need to make sure of is that we already have fields that can be calculated inside of a report. So in this case, if I wanted to know how, once again, like we were discussing in our video about queries, if I want to know how long it took between the date of the initial visit and the date diagnosed, I want to see how much time was in between those things, then I can come to the so what I can do is I can insert a new control. So here's my controls. I'm going to insert a text box here. In this case, I'm just going to insert it right here. It might be a little bit long. It might be a little bit short. But I want to make sure that that you can see what how long it took. So I want to be able to show how long it took between these days, and then so how long did it take to diagnose? Excuse me. Okay. Coming back. Sorry about that. I was not trying to sneeze and it just came out. So what we'll do is we take the control box over here. So this is the name of the box, what you're going to see in the report. So in this, what we'll do is you can create a build event, or you can go to format. Sorry, where did you go? I just saw, oh, there you are. You can go to your property sheet for this particular box, and in property sheet you have several things. So I might change the formatting to a number, a general number. So you can see that, and then I go to data, and at the data and the control source, I'm going to push the ... Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an expression builder. Now, in the expression builder, I'm going to take the date diagnosed. I'm going to subtract out the date of the initial visit, and that will be our give us the number of days that we are going to work, or that it took to diagnose this. So when we say OK, you can see then there. Let's go to view the report. You can see that it took, for whatever this is, diagnosis is, it took 3 days, 14. We see that it took different days, so we did it correctly. Now, if you do not have, let's go back to design view. So let's say I get rid of one of these particular things, and I go back to the report. There we go. Good. It's still there. The date of initial visit, and we see how long it took to get into design view. Now, if you don't, so let's delete this, and we're just going to add a new control. We don't have all of our so we don't have all of the information in here that we had before, right? So we'll get that right there, and we'll, how long did it take to diagnose? Yeah, we can add the question. And then go over here, control source. we'll notice that we have the date of initial visit. Let's try to add something over here. So let's go to diagnosis, and we'll say the date diagnosed minus, let's go back to our report, and all reports we're working in report 1 minus date of initial visit. Say OK. Let's go ahead and run this. What's happening? Okay, so we get an error because we don't have. So it's not actually an error. It's asking you the date. So it wants you in the diagnosis. It wants you to give it a. I'm not exactly sure what it's asking for because it's saying diagnosis. So I'm not exactly sure what it's pulling from, but we'll just see if we can accidentally hit something here. There we go. Okay. So how long did the diagnosis take? You have a type error. Okay, and the type error is because you do not have one of your fields inside of this report. So make sure that if you're going to use a calculated field, have all necessary information or data inside of the report, so that way you can calculate it out. So this has been reports for Access. If there are any other questions, you can come to me and ask. But good luck on everything, and I will get back with y'all with some Excel stuff later on. Have a good one.